Everyone, I'd like to welcome you to this afternoon's Seminole County Board of County Commissioners hearing. We're going to reconvene for our public hearings. Have some items that I would like to read to you all before we get started. Do we have a motion to accept proofs of publication?
Move to approve publication.
Second.
Motion by Zembauer, second by Delary. Other way around? It seemed simultaneous, so I wasn't quite sure. Motion by Delary, second by Zembauer to accept proofs of publication. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. This afternoon, we have one quasi-judicial and one legislative public hearing. This is the process for our public hearings this afternoon. Our staff is going to present each item for consideration with staff recommendation. The board will have an opportunity to ask questions of staff when presentations have finished. The applicant will then have an opportunity to make a presentation. The board will have a chance to then ask questions once the presenter has finished. Members of the public interested in speaking either for or against a project or issue have, to use the visual that's buried. If you would like to speak this afternoon, there are yellow comment cards out in the lobby. We'd like you to fill those out and give them to Ms. Beach up here at the front. If you would just like your comments submitted for the record, you may fill it out in green. If you are the applicant, you automatically have an opportunity to speak, so you don't need to fill one of those out. But if it is not your item and you would like to comment on the item, it's yellow, submitted for the record, green. Members of the public will only be allowed to give comment once per item. Speakers should state their name and address clearly for the record and whether you are for or against the item. Speakers will be given 3 minutes to speak unless they are the official spokesperson for an HOA or a legally organized group, then they will be given 6 minutes. If a board member has questions regarding the speaker's comments, an opportunity will be given once the speaker's time has expired. In accordance with the operating policies and procedures of Seminole County Board of County Commissioners, Section 2.175, Public Participation Before the Board, speakers shall limit their comments to the subject being considered by the board. All public comments shall avoid personal attacks, abusive language, and redundancy. Disrespectful, rude, or irrelevant, or slanderous remarks or disruptive behavior may subject the individual to removal from the board chambers. The chairman may curtail repetitious comments. The clerk's office is required to retain any documents that are presented, whether they're photographs or drawings, that are presented to the board, so if you show it to us, be prepared to leave it with the clerk. Once all the speakers have been heard, the applicant will have an opportunity for rebuttal if necessary. We will then close the public hearing and put the matter in the hands of the commission. Following a motion and a second, there will be board discussion and a vote will be taken. Commissioners who do not cast objecting votes are considered to have voted in support of the motion. Our first item up is item number 34. It's the Crowley Boat Dock House at 220 Nob Hill Circle. Mary Robinson.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Chair. Item 34 on your agenda is a request for approval of a 1,578 square foot boat dock / house on property located on the north side of Nob Hill Circle in Longwood, approximately 1,400 feet west of East Lake Brantley Road, and also more particularly known as 220 Nob Hill Circle. The application is requesting this boat dock of 1,578 square feet, and I wanted to point out that this does include any roof overhang. The actual structure is 1,406.5 feet over water and a total of 1,446.5 square feet, which includes the connecting walkway from the shoreline. Chapter 70 of the Dredge and Filling chapter of the Land Development Code contains 7 items to be considered when issuance of a boat dock permit. The application does comply with this and meets the height regulation required by the Land Development Code for the boat house, which is 10 feet to the ridge line of the roof. The applicant has been issued a general use permit from the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and staff is recommending that the Board of County Commissioners approve the request for a 1,578 square foot boat dock on Lake Brantley on property located on the northwest side of Nob Hill Circle, approximately 1,400 feet west of East Lake Brantley Road, more particularly known as 220 Nob Hill Circle. I'm available to answer any questions, and the applicant and property owner are present to answer questions.
All right, thank you. Have any commissioners received any ex parte communication related to this item? No?
I have not.
All right, thank you very much. Would the applicant like to make a presentation?
Hi, my name is Sheila Sickrest, Streamline Permitting, 1002 Fort Mason Drive, Eustis, Florida, 32726. I represent the applicant, and I've been before you guys many, many times for these dredge and fill permits. There's never been any drama, but I wasn't looking forward to this one because I knew that the adjacent property owner was going to object to this. We knew this because back when I applied for the state permit, which we have to have before we can come to you guys, I had to massage the project a little bit. The initial project was a little bit too big because the state will only allow 10 times the lineal footage of shoreline. So my client has 150 feet of shoreline, you can have 1,500 square feet of boat dock. So we reduced things a little bit and massaged the plan until it would fit the state's code, but they also require a 25-foot setback instead of the county's 10-foot setback. So my client went to the adjacent property owner and asked him if he would sign a setback waiver so we could put the docks, 10 feet, or put the dock 10 feet off the property line, which is where the neighbors is. And he said, no, he didn't want to sign that. He didn't even want it built on his side of the property. So we knew that there was going to be some pushback. I actually have an aerial I'd like to show you.
If you would like to stand there and point at whatever it is you'd like to point to and speak at that microphone that's there in front of Mary, then you can point and
Jim,
talk at the same time.
Can we zoom in, please?
Yes, we can.
Keep going. There you go.
Okay, so this is the adjacent property owner's dock, and this is just a scaled sketch that I did from the property appraiser's website, so you can see, where the structures are. Is it on? Sorry. There's 25 feet between the proposed boathouse and the shared projected property line, so the structures will be about 35 feet apart. You can see that the adjacent parcel is 90 feet wide, and Mr. Crowley's parcel is 150 feet wide, so it makes sense that his dock would be a little bit bigger. It's what the state allows, is 10 times lineal footage of shoreline. So we don't even really know what your criteria for approving and denying a permit is, because one's never been denied before, to my knowledge. So I don't know how to prepare except to give you the facts. The proposed boat dock meets all the criteria for the state and the county. It does not provide a navigational hazard, and we can't imagine why it would be denied, but I am open to questions if you have any.
Any questions for the applicant?
Not yet.
Commissioner Herr.
I do have a question. You lost me a little bit. This is the drawing, the proposed drawing that we are approving, not the original drawing without the 10 feet versus the 25 feet?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay, so this is the correct drawing?
Yeah, I redrew the site plan. I've actually drawn it several times now to have a 25-foot setback so that we could get the state permit.
And the original request was to have the setback be 10?
Yeah.
So the docks would be literally back to back?
20 feet apart.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
I'll ask actually, this is probably a question for our staff. Is the 10-foot setback, was that a variance for the existing boat dock? Mary?
No, the 10-foot is the Seminole County Land Development Code requirement. It's the side yard, if you extend an imaginary property line out into the water from the side lot line of any particular lot, it would be the 10-foot setback. This site plan, which is probably a little difficult to see, but this site plan in your packet does show the 25 feet.
I think that's off the page,
here
off
to
the
here.
screen, yeah.
Is it off?
Yeah,
there
There we
you
go. This would be the 25-foot setback right here.
Yeah, so for clarification, my question is about the existing neighbor's boat dock. They are 10 feet off the property line, so that was not a special exception through Seminole County, but it did not meet the state requirement?
That dock has actually been added on to without a permit, and so a few months ago, it didn't meet the setback, but they've since gone back and removed some of the unpermitted portions so that it now is back to where it has a 10-foot side setback,
So the aerial maybe that was shown is outdated?
slightly.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. Commissioner Zembauer?
I just want a clarification on a couple questions. I want to make sure this is correct. The neighbor's dock is 10 foot off. This one is going to be 25 feet off.
Yes. So there'll be 35 feet
Want
between.
to make sure. Thank you.
And all of the boat slips are facing the lake, so navigation into the slips, there's not really going to be a navigation issue. And you're not entitled to an unobstructed view of the lake from your house. You're going to be able to see your neighbor's dock. It's not really a criteria that you can say, oh, he can't build that dock because I can see it. So unfortunately, that's not a...
Any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you. If we have anything further, we'll call you back up.
Thank you.
Ms. Beach, do we have any comment forms? I saw someone run quickly out to get a form. If you filled out the form, would you please give it to Ms. Beach so you can be recognized? You'll each have 3 minutes to speak. If you would, state your name and address for the record.
My name is George Donovan, and I live at 218 Apple Circle. Thank you for giving me the time to talk. I've got a lot of ground to cover in 3 minutes, so I'll try and hit the salient points here. I've lived on this lake, and my wife and I, over 30 years. I've seen the beauty of the lake, and I've seen the hazards of the lake. I feel myself to be like a steward of this lake. I swim in it almost every day across the lake, and I enjoy it. So I've seen a lot of wildlife, I've seen a lot of not just natural wildlife, but boating wildlife too. Huge concern about the size of a dock that's going to be out there projecting into the water. During COVID, everybody was out on boats, and my wife and I almost had a daily heart attack watching these people come by and almost hit the dock. So I know we're not here to talk about placement. We're here to talk about size. There's a rule that it has to be 1,000 square feet. That's the maximum. I don't know why we're going past that. There's a few issues that we have to understand or that we can address according to the code 70.7. There's items D, E, and G. And D is possible effect on property owners. E is possible effect on health, safety, comfort, good order, appearance, prosperity, and general welfare. And G is a possible effect upon the safe navigation of vessels and watercraft. On many counts, this proposal is adverse to the safety, the navigation, and the overall condition of the lake. If we allow something this big to be built out here, it's just setting a precedent for bigger and bigger boat docks, which to me are a safety hazard. I didn't have a permitting tech, and I'm not here to address issues that aren't part of the of this discussion, but thank you for doing that. Can we get this?
Zoom out or?
Oh, up here, okay. Just one, all right. Is this mic on?
Yes, it is.
So I went out and kind of scoped this out on your website to try and see from the plans where this was going to be located. This was based on what we've been told. We don't have any idea of where it's supposed to be. We know the code is a 10-foot setback, but we've heard from our neighbor a whole variety of areas, and he asked us to sign a waiver letter for a 0-foot setback before we even knew the facts of the case. So my time's almost done. In closing, my wife would like to speak also and pick up all the points which I did not get to. Thank you.
I have a question.
Commissioner Zembauer has a question for you, sir.
Can I stand over here?
Yes.
Yes, if you can put one of those back up, please.
I'm presuming you want this one?
I think I know the answer. I didn't know it until a few minutes ago. I think you didn't without saying it. Where are you in relationship? Are you the adjoining owner?
Yes.
Okay. With the existing dock already there?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'll ask a follow-up if I may.
Yes.
So all of the things that you are concerned about with this dock being placed here, navigation and what have you, you don't feel that your dock provides those same concerns?
Well, I think any dock would pose a problem. I actually started to put buoys out 50 feet off of a boat dock. I think the code is 150 feet. You can come by a boat dock without a wake. So I put buoys out just as a safety maneuver to just show, if you're inside, no wake. If you're outside, you go as fast as you want. And I had a number of neighbors come up to me and say, can you do that with us too? So I had 16 buoys out there before somebody said, that's not legal. And I was asked to bring all these buoys back. But I got a lot of people saying, oh my God, that's really helping people identify how close you can come. So yeah, I think any boat dock's out there, but I inherited this boat dock. I was there when we moved in. And what we're asking for, I think, is something, or this proposal is just edging it out into an area where I guarantee there will be an accident at some point.
And a follow-up question, I think one of the other items you mentioned that you were concerned about was your view, obstruction of view. Was that something else?
Well, I don't know how you can legislate that.
Well, but was that one of your concerns that you mentioned?
It is a concern, but
Okay.
but I understand that I don't think it's under my ability to say you can't put your boat dock there even though the law allows it. As a good neighbor, maybe you'd move it over and allow us to enjoy a sunset. But if you don't, that's your choice. I'm not here to say where he has to put it.
So for clarification, you live in number 30, is that correct? That's up there on the screen? 30 is your home?
Yes.
Okay. And number 31, do they have a boat dock as well?
Yes, they do.
Okay, and so, okay, oh, yep, there it is. Okay, so it's on the other side. So I would presume that your boat dock provides a little bit of a view obstruction for number 31?
Not really, they're so far.
Ma'am,
No.
this is just, you'll have your time for sure. We'll make sure you get it.
No, I have a great relationship with my neighbor, and he's never complained about it. I've never known it to be an issue.
Okay, all right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
If there are further questions, we'll be sure and ask. You
Okay.
can have a seat.
Thank you.
And Ms. Beach, who is our next speaker?
Jody Donovan. Hi.
Hi,
I'm
your
Jody
name and
Donovan.
address for the record.
I am Jody Donovan and George's wife. I'm at 218 Nob Hill Circle, right next door. That is our boat dock right there. I come to you as a mother. I'm a mother of, George and I have combined 6 children that we've raised on Lake Brantley. I come just to talk to you a little bit. First of all, I've spoken in public one other time at my brother's funeral, so I'm sorry. George usually does the talking here, but this is how important this is to me. This is a permanent structure. I'm concerned about the safety and welfare of our lake neighbors. George and I, with our combined 6 children, have heard through the years, they're all gone now, they're all grew up too fast, but the close calls that we've heard about over the years, all the drinking that goes on in our lake. Don just sent both of us a text last week of him fishing out so many beer cans and bottles. Their irresponsible behavior that's going on in our lake is something that any parent's heart would drop to hear of the terrible behavior going out there. And my biggest concern is the placement of this boat dock being so far out into the water and how big it is, 60% larger than our boat dock, or 1,000 square feet. Is I think the Florida statute, being almost 1,600 square feet. It's a target waiting for an accident to happen out on the water. So that's truly my biggest concern. It is a navigational hazard for us backing our boat or coming in and out of our own boat slip. Its positioning of where George marked out with the buoys. I think it's on one of your pictures that we'll present to you. But it's a complete problem for us to be navigating safely in and out of our own dock slip. People coming in and out of Lake Rena, which is the canal, they punch it when they're coming in and out of the canal. And for a boat dock to be sticking out that far out into the water, it's just a safety hazard. So I'm just coming to you as a mom. I think that it's important for someone, this picture right here, for someone to do a little more due diligence before approving this permanent structure out there with a roof over top of it. People aren't going to be able to safely navigate those waters out there. Lake Brantley is a very small lake, and 1,600 square feet is a very big boat dock. So that's my opinion of it.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Zembauer, you have a question?
And I appreciate the children and the concern for those. I have 5
Sure.
of myself combined. Have you notified, in these instances where some of these events have happened that you're concerned about, have you notified the sheriff's office? And if so, have they come out and taken any action, or you're not getting a response? Tell me a little bit about that.
We did. During COVID especially, it was like a 3-ring circus out there. Every time I would go out on our boat dock, I almost had a heart attack because during COVID, nobody had anywhere to go, so they would go out to the lakes. And we would, George, can he speak with me?
Am I allowed to answer the question?
They
Sure.
would
Yeah.
patrol. They would patrol, but still, it goes on every weekend. I mean, Don himself sent us pictures last weekend of nets full of beer cans, and it's just a problem on the lake. So it's a concern when someone proposes who's never lived on our lake before to put their boat dock way out there like that. It's a huge problem. And like I said, I want to be a good neighbor, but a boat dock that big and sticking that far out into the lake, it's a true concern for our fellow neighbors and their families.
And who all has access to this lake?
There are everyone that lives on Lake Brantley, everyone that lives in Sweetwater Oaks. There's also a new neighborhood. Our friends, who did?
Clingers, Lake Brantley Reserve.
Yeah, Lake Brantley Reserve. It's another 150 homes that have lake access now. The Clingers sold their farm and they subdivided, and they all have access to the lake now.
But there's no public ramp where I could take my boat over and put in the lake, is that correct?
Not a public ramp, but tons of developments have it. There's at least 5 developments that are on the Lake Brantley Association that have it, access.
And I know from being a lake owner myself, typically when you have multiple communities who have access to the lake, have y'all communicated to the other HOAs about the trash and debris that's showing up to police their own and have a conversation
sure.
with their residents?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is a Lake Brantley
Lake Owners
commission that
Association.
is volunteer put together, run by, it used to be Fred Streetman.
Right.
And did a very, very effective job of monitoring the health of the lake and contacting authorities when there's a problem.
Right.
And to address your previous question, like when we saw issues, safety issues out there, did we speak to anybody? Yes, we called the Seminole.
Why do you hold out?
I'm sorry. We call the Seminole County Sheriff's Department, and they come out every once in a while. They vowed to step up patrols and so forth, but they said limited budget, they can only do so much. And they basically said, you're on your own.
Yeah, I
So
don't know
that's when
about-
I put
I don't know about a
the
limited
buoys
budget
out.
for a sheriff.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic. If you would please, unless there's another question from
I'm
a
good.
commissioner? All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you very much for coming out.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
All right, would the applicant like to address the board?
Yes, thank you. Just one more visual aid.
And for the record, this is not a new presentation. This is to rebut anything that you feel needed to be corrected from
Understood.
public comment.
Yeah, and is this one on? You can hear me all right? Okay, that was a really excellent question about what does this new dock have that yours doesn't? Not a great deal is what I want to clarify. It's actually 1,406 square feet of dock. There's 15-something with the roof overhang, but you guys don't count that, so it's not, that's how the mistake was made in the write-up. That was the DEP square footage, because they require that the square footage of the roof overhang be included. So the proposed dock is 1,406 square feet. From a recent measurement, and this may not be exactly what's there now, because some of the dock was taken away, but my recent measurement brought about 1,300 square feet of dock that the adjacent property owner has. No state permit, and it has a 10-foot setback. So they are literally asking for my client not to have a legally permitted boat dock at a 25-foot setback, even while their own structure, doesn't comply with those rules.
Any questions from the commission? Commissioner Herr?
I want to hear somebody address the 1,000 square feet that was referenced as being what's allowed by law.
It's not a limit necessarily, it's just when Seminole County has a boat dock permit application that is over 1,000, it has to go through this separate process. If you want to build a boat dock in Seminole County that's over 1,000 square feet, you have to get a state permit and you have to get a dredge and fill permit.
And perhaps what we'll do is have our staff answer that question for the commissioner.
Yes, Commissioner Mary Robinson, for the record, Planning and Development. Chapter 70 of the Seminole County Land Development Code is the dredge and fill chapter. And within that chapter, it addresses boat docks. It says any boat dock over 1,000 square feet must be approved by the Board of County Commissioners via a public hearing. And if it's on an outstanding Florida water, it can't exceed 500 square feet. And if it does, it still goes through that public hearing process before the commission.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for staff or the applicant?
Madam Chairman.
Commissioner Delary?
I got a question for staff. Mary?
Oh, Mary, we have another question for you.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I apologize.
It's all right. On this lake, presently, how many boat docks do we have that are above 1,000 square feet?
To my knowledge, I'll point it out, one that the board approved last year.
Okay.
Is that on this one?
It's this one right here, and this is on Brantley, 100 Brantley Terrace.
We cannot see where you're pointing.
Oh. This lot right here is 100 Brantley Terrace, and it was approximately 1578.
So if you would move that down, Mary, a little bit so we can see the two docks are up, whichever way. Yeah,
this way.
well, yeah, I want to see both the proposed dock and the existing dock that's over 1,000 square feet in the same frame.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, right, yep.
Okay,
Yep.
thanks.
So if
Thank
you
you,
would,
Susan.
Mary, point to the dock that is being proposed for being built.
This is the lot requesting the subject of the hearing today.
Okay, and the one that
And
you
this
just
is the-
pointed for Commissioner Delary?
This is the one that was approved last year.
Okay, thank you very much.
And if I could just clarify that.
Actually, if a commissioner has a question for you, we'll let you know.
And I'm going to have one.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm done.
Commissioner Constantine, I'm so sorry. I had not seen your hand
No,
until just then. You have a question?
Well, first of all, stay there, Mary, would you please, just in case. I think that what the young lady that was coming up was going to say that wasn't built to scale, and I understand that, okay? And I'm talking about the square, I think, because in talking to Mary Robinson about this prior to the meeting, that was her rendition of it. If you move it just a little bit down further, Mary, to a little bit further, yeah, just keep going. Yeah, stop. If I was 31, I'd be a little upset with 32. But that was because that's going to block their sight line, and I understand. So move it back up to where it was before. Okay, now, you've got the, what says 0, I think that's 1, 2. Yeah, that was the one that we approved last year, and that was the 1,500. And as you can see, you're going out the sight line. My question here is, whoever asked the question about the 1,000 feet, I think it was you, I had the same question when I first came. Why are we seeing these things? They're covered by the state. The state, with the, I also question the 10-foot. I mean, why are we different than the state? And I think we need to look at that. I really do, from a standpoint of the 25 feet as opposed to the 10 feet. But my concern right now is, with the linear foot of what 150 foot, is that what you said? So you're looking at 1,500 square foot. I have no problem at this point with the size of it. I am concerned because if you look at it, it is going, not there, but even if you go by your own, it's 10 yards further out. You said 310 feet to 278. That's 32 feet. That's 32 feet. 32 feet, to me, is 10 yards, or a little bit more than 10 yards, further out than the other one. I'm just wondering why it has to be that far out. When I asked Mary that, our Mary Robinson, there was no real answer for that. Not to say that she didn't know, she just said she had not heard why they had to go 10 yards further out. That would be, because it's so close, an obstruction of, of sight. But more importantly, it is a navigational potential problem. And I'm just asking now why it has to go 10 yards further out.
Do you mind if I answer that?
Who
It's
are
up
you
to you, Chair.
who are you directing the question to, Mr.
Well, I guess
Constantine?
the only person I can ask that, because Mary did
Well,
not.
the applicant had expressed to me it was due to they needed the depth of the water because of the draft for the boat. And she may be able to elaborate on that.
I would like you to
Better than me.
elaborate on that. It has to do with the depth of the
Yeah.
water, so you don't run aground.
Yes.
No, that's the question we want to find out.
Yes, thank
Woman's
you.
got a boat dock.
I appreciate the opportunity to clarify. If we get this a little more square with the shoreline and then put that there, we're actually only talking about maybe 10 or 12 feet longer. It's not that much longer. And this is the perimeter of the structure. As I drew it, it was adding it up. So that number, that 293 doesn't mean anything, or 289. The DEP requires that the mooring areas have at least 2 feet from mean low, which corresponds to about 4 feet at normal high. So you have to get out to a certain place before the DEP will even allow you to build a boathouse, because they don't allow any prop scouring. We took a lot of depth measurements to determine exactly where this, because the dock used to be 10 feet longer too. And everything has been drawn back into as close as the shore as it can be and as small as it can be, and still meet the DEP's criteria and all of the county's criteria.
Does that answer your question, Commissioner?
Absolutely, it's an environmental protection.
I don't know about that.
It is, it's so you don't dig up the
bottom.
natural lay of the lake
Really?
Yeah.
with the prop. I've been through this.
Okay.
Are there any further questions, Commissioner Constantine?
Well-
I know Commissioner Zambauer does. I just want to make sure you're done before, we can come back to you, of course.
I guess my question is, that's what, was said, but, are we talking about a certain boat that has to have that depth? I'm not, I did not hear that.
I can't answer that.
We designed the boathouse around the 2 boats that he already has, but most boats will draft between 2 and 3 feet anyway. So there's not, depending on the boat, it doesn't change that much.
Now, let me ask you a question. Is there any chance that you can you can move it back in a little bit, so, for the obstruction of the site?
We probably could. It might cause prop scouring in the slips, but just from being in marine construction for 28 years, I know that's going to happen anyway. As you use your boathouse, the boathouse is going to get wallied out. It's just going to happen.
It's what?
Wallied out with the prop. It's going to get a little hollow underneath the boat, where the boat is anyway, just from idling and moving the boat and stuff.
All right. For the county manager, for future, I don't know why we have it in our code enforcement, or not code enforcement, but our building code, why we have to look at every one of these 1,000 feet. But it happens like every 6 months or something like that we have one of these. I just wonder why we did. I think there's probably some historical significance I'm not aware of. I just like to know why we're doing it as opposed to that. Same thing with the 10 feet as opposed to the 25 feet. Saying that. At this point, I wish, with all due respect, that as good neighbors, you will do everything you can to avoid the obstruction of the site of your neighbor. With that, I cannot see any other reason why we can object to the approval of the size of this dock request. They've met all the conditions of the state, other than the size, which we have, has to go over 1,000 feet. So with that, I will move approval with a request that you do everything you can to avoid the obstruction of the site line for your neighbors.
Second.
So, okay, let me, as the chairman, I just need to clean up that motion a little bit.
Well, I'm just
the-
requesting, it was not part of the motion, I was requesting, the motion was approval.
Okay, could you restate the motion without the request, please?
Okay. All right, first I'll do the request, okay? The request is, please be good neighbors and avoid the obstruction of the line. I know you two have had conflict. That doesn't change the fact that you're going to live together and to avoid the site. Now, approve the dock. The motion is to approve the dock. The size.
Second for further discussion.
Second by Zembauer. Discussion, Commissioner Delary had his hand up, and then Commissioner Herr, and then back to Commissioner Zembauer.
Basically, two questions. One was for Commissioner Constantine. So, Commissioner, is your issue that it projects too far into the lake? Is that your issue?
I'm not objecting to it, Commissioner, if I can answer the question.
I just wanted to understand your concern.
There's common sense, good neighbor, common sense, good neighbor Sam, and then there's us making a decision. The decision is, for the dock, it says here 1,578 feet. I think that includes there's been 1,406, whatever it is. I'm approving, I have no objection to the approval of the size of the dock.
Oh, okay.
I'm simply asking them to be good neighbors, that's all. Like we would ask anybody, to common sense, to be good neighbors as best they can as far as the line of sight. Because if you look at it, if I'm sitting out there on a dock, I would look and I would see if I'm looking to this side, to the left, I would see nothing but their dock directly affecting. We don't know the scale. I'm just asking you a nice thing. I don't have any objection to the size of the dock.
Okay.
Okay? And that's why I made the motion of approval. Okay?
All right, under further discussion, Commissioner Herr and Commissioner Zembauer?
By my view of this, I don't want to get into a neighborhood dispute or create one. If you move that back, you worsen their view. And so I just say, do whatever you need to do within the confines of the law. That's my request. Because it's one person's opinion as to whether it's better or worse, whether it's further out into the lake or further back into the lake. If you are directly abutting their view, you worsen their view. I believe I heard that the sun sets over here, this side of the lake. Don't think you want to be looking completely at the dock. I think you want a spot on your dock where you look through it. And so that request may actually make that worse. So God bless.
Be good neighbors, that's all I'm
Commissioner
saying.
Delary, or Commissioner Zembauer, my apologies. Everybody's starting to look alike.
Hey.
Except you can't go there, too. I can't, I'm so sorry.
I will withdraw my request in the interest of moving things along. Thank you very
Okay.
much, Madam Chair.
All right, there's a motion and a second. We've had discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Our next item is item number 35, the 2023 Capital Improvement Project Schedule Annual Update. Mr. Reed.
Good afternoon. For the record, Tyler Reed, Senior Planner with Development Services. I am presenting the 2023 Capital Improvements Project Schedule Annual Update. The capital improvements element of the Seminole County Comprehensive Plan is required by the Community Planning Act, Chapter 163, Florida Statutes, and is intended to enable implementation of the plan's goals, objectives, and policies. Each year, the adopted schedule of capital improvements is updated to ensure that the schedule matches the county's newly adopted fiscal year budget and the adopted 5-year capital improvements program. The proposed updated schedule of capital improvements includes only those improvements previously reviewed and adopted by the Board of County Commissioners through the county's annual budget process. In 2011, the Florida legislature enacted legislation allowing the schedule of capital improvements to be updated by ordinance without amending the comprehensive plan. As required by the Seminole County Home Rule Charter, an economic impact statement is attached. Staff recommends the Board of County Commissioners to adopt the ordinance containing the 2023 capital improvements project schedule annual update for the Seminole County Comprehensive Plan. This concludes my presentation. Staff is available to answer questions. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Reed or staff?
I have a question for the Director, Kim Warnberg. Ms. Warnberg?
Good afternoon. Kim Warnberg, Director of Environmental Services.
Thank you. I think your staff does a phenomenal job, particularly under your leadership. Particularly under your leadership, I think you are an outstanding individual. Many times when this has been brought before us, I've always asked the question about the overall master plan for water and sewer, as well as for solid waste. I know that you're working on that, and I'm trying to get a timetable about when you think we'll be seeing those master plans.
We have done an amendment that has just been executed with our consultant on that, so I would need to get back with you to tell you what the timeline
Okay.
exactly is.
If you get back to us on that, I'd
Yes,
greatly appreciate it.
absolutely.
Otherwise, I would have no issue moving forward with
Okay.
this. I just wanted to understand when
I
the
would
over-
say it's a minimum of 6 months, but it might be as far as a year, but I need to verify
And again,
that.
I'm okay with it. I just need to know what that timetable
Okay.
is. Thank you.
Yes.
Commissioner Zembauer?
Thank you, and I don't see our finance people in the room, so I guess I'll just ask this question in general, and I don't need an answer, but I would like the county manager, if you would be kind enough to see if it's possible on these projects, if you go through the list, you can see all the lists that are, projects that are laid out. I would like to know an accounting of the 1 cent infrastructure fund that's being utilized for each of those. They're proposed on the tip and the old CIP project list, as well as any grant monies that are part and parcel to that, or if there are grant monies pending in the wings, waiting to be applied, would be helpful.
Okay.
So
We can
thank you.
definitely
That's
do
all
that.
I have.
Commissioner Dwyer?
Madam Chairman, if I may also add to that list, there's been a report several years ago that county staff did called the Water Wheeling Report. I'd like to see how that also plays out.
I'm sorry, water.
The Water Wheeling Report.
Got it.
WILLING or WHEE?
WH.
Got it. Okay.
WA.
All right. I'm a speller.
That's all right. I'm a reader.
I do have a couple questions, but if there are other commissioners that would like to round out, okay. Under drainage element, and I don't, this is just something that I find interesting. We have water quality listed as an item underneath the drainage element, and of course, they're related. But then when we look at the breakdown of the drainage projects on 894, I can't tell which one of these are related to water quality. So it would be helpful for me for follow-up to know how much we're actually investing in water quality improvement.
Sure.
And then the other follow-up related to recreation and open space, we have an adopted level of service of open space in this county, 3.6 acres of recreational land per 1,000 of population, of which 1.8 is to be developed. And I would just like to know how we're doing on that. If that's our adopted level of service,
Sure.
what are we really?
Got it.
Okay, great. Anything else? Nope. There a motion?
Move to approve?
Second?
There's a motion by Zembauer, second by her. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Great. Thank you, Tyler. Appreciate it very much. Before we move on to the county manager's report, we do have our friends from the St. Johns River Water Management District here, and I know Chris would like to give an update on a public hearing that's coming.
Yes.
If you would just introduce your name and your title and all that good stuff for the
Absolutely.
record. Thank you.
My name is Chris Kinslow. I'm a land resource planner with the St. Johns River Water Management District. And I'd just like to say good afternoon and thank you to Chairman Lockhart and the commission for the opportunity to speak. I'm here to announce that the St. Johns River Water Management District is hosting a public hearing on Thursday, April 27th from noon to 1:30 at the Osteen Civic Center in Osteen. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive public comment on the district's 10-year land management plan update for the Lake Monroe Conservation Area. The conservation area contributes to the protection of the Central Florida's water resources and is home to a long list of natural communities, plants, and animals, including the threatened Florida scrub jay. At over 7,500 acres, the conservation area provides a tremendous benefit to the citizens of Seminole County. The land management plan establishes goals and objectives for managing the Lake Monroe Conservation Area over the next 10 years, and the district would like to invite review and comment on the draft land management plan from Seminole County leaders and as well as its residents. Once again, this public hearing for Lake Monroe Conservation Area's land management plan update will be held on Thursday, April 27th from noon to 1:30 at the Osteen Civic Center. Comments may be presented orally or in writing at the hearing, and written comments may also be submitted via mail or email to myself. A copy of the draft land management plan is currently available for review, and additional details regarding this public hearing are available through the district's website under its Meetings and Announcements heading. We can also provide meeting details to county staff for use on social media as well as the county's website. The district invites the county to participate in the meeting and help us guide the management of this valuable natural resource. Thank you all for your time, and with that, I welcome any questions on this announcement.
Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Kinslow? Commissioner Herr?
Yes,
Just a comment, I would like us to host that on our website, just as an informational item to our constituents, so I appreciate that offer.
Absolutely.
So even though the meeting's in Volusia County, Seminole County is welcome.
Absolutely. So there is about 300 acres of ownership in Seminole County, and also the proximity to the conservation area is very close to a lot of the constituents in Seminole County too. So.
Yes.
I have a second question, not for you, but for us. So, still on the learning curve, but I will admit that these public meetings, it has been my impression that commissioners don't go to public meetings because they're for the public and for staff to hear directly from the public. But I have heard that we have folks that are attending public meetings, and I think that puts us in jeopardy if more than one of us shows up there. So at some point, we may need some guidance with regard to that as we're doing it and we're noticing everything, or we're not doing it. And I think we need some guidance around that area. So just because you happen to be the unlucky one that's standing at
It's
the
all right.
podium while
I've been in this position before where
Yeah.
stuff
You're
I've
like,
done.
"Phew, that could have been a lot worse."
Other
Yeah.
work for other individuals.
Yeah.
So.
So thank you.
I do
Yeah.
generally, so there, beyond the public meeting, there's an additional component, an advisory group, and that's other stakeholders, and sometimes invite, it would be you, Commissioner Hurd, just because of the coverage.
Thank you.
But also there's, our intergovernmental coordinators also attend. So I'll email you, let me know if you come, and that kind of
Thank you.
goes from there.
I'd like to give you props for being brave enough to put your business card down on the short
I didn't realize my cell
row.
phone number's on there, but it's all good.
So you've got your email address up there for anyone who would like to reach out for
Absolutely,
additional
and I
information.
can provide the
Fantastic.
draft plan.
Great.
And that's 352, correct?
That's correct,
Okay.
yeah. I'm a Gainesvillian, but I'm also very proud to work for the Water Management District.
That's great. We thank you for being here.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right,
Anything
appreciate
else?
it. No, I don't think so.
All right.
Appreciate the partnership.
Thank you all.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
I spoke to you a little earlier. I have an elderly parent approaching 93 that's in the hospital, so I'd like to excuse myself. If there's no objections, I need to go there and speak to him as well as some of his doctors. Okay?
Wish you well. Tell your dad we were thinking of him.
Not me.
Good luck.
Well, both of you. Both of you. County Manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just one item. We participated, meaning the county employees, in the Lynx softball tournament this past weekend, and we got third place overall, and they even, where's Ashley, right? She made sure I had this today, that we even got a medal for it. So just kudos to our staff who participated. There were a lot of Central Florida communities involved, so we did very well. So
That's awesome.
that's all I have. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much.
I'll hand it to you.
Anything from the County Attorney's Office?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Starting with District 3, Commissioner Constantine. Moving on to district reports.
Thank you very much. We've, just a couple of things. We, first of all, had legislative days in Tallahassee. The good news is it was well attended by multiple commissions around the state, and I know that they were very active within the Capitol. I know you, Commissioner, were also in attendance, Commissioner Lockhart. That's the good news. The bad news is they keep writing bills. And I just, a couple of that have happened since that day that have already been put on committees. Number one is, if you didn't hear, I did see that Mr. Applegate put some out there, but they are now trying to put out what I think was one of the worst things that's ever happened to the legislature, and that is term limits. They're now trying to put that on county commissioners. And they did try on the school boards last year at 12. They're now moving that back to 8 and putting county commissioners at 8. Something that affects every county's bottom line is a bill that came out Friday, and that bill is a House committee bill, regulatory industries, which essentially is taking a portion of the tourist development tax from every county, 5% off the top for most counties, 2% for rural counties, sending it back up to the state for them to redistribute to Visit Florida for, and 75% of it will go to various things, specifically back to some rural counties, back to also state parks and state forests, essentially trying to divide and conquer the counties. It's about $75 million. For us, it would be a little over $300,000, more than $300,000 off the top, which is what we give to the zoo right now, a little bit more than that. But it's essentially redistributing our tourist development tax. Just as onerous on that is that they're also requesting that, or not requesting, requiring that every 6 years you have to re-up or go back to a referendum on tourist development tax, get 60%, not the 50% that's required by our charter and most counties, but 60% vote to reissue a tourist development tax by the people. And as we all know, it's called tourist development tax for a reason. It's paid for mostly by the tourists and the people that are in hotels. But they're saying because you have to re-up it every 6 years, that takes away any bonding capacity you possibly could have. So then you're sitting there saying all you can spend tourist development tax is on individual projects that come up yearly, and not projects, let's just say Orange County and the Convention Center. For our neighbors to the south, that would be about $20 million a year. But it's just another, not only divide and conquer, it's just another thing that I think we all agree that we don't understand a lot of what the state legislature is doing, and it's clearly, there's no institutional knowledge up there. There's a reason we put the tourist development tax together. It is something that has come from the locals, and for them to try to fool with that and give it to an organization that they're trying to get rid of, Visit Florida. So they won't have to spend any money for Visit Florida. It'll all come from us. So another thing taking away our dollars.
Can I ask you a question about that, Commissioner Constantine?
Sure,
Is
please.
there a companion for that in the Senate at this point?
No, but it's a committee bill, which
Okay.
means, Commissioner, that, I'm sure you know this, but for
Don't
everybody.
count on it.
Okay. A committee bill is formulated by, before the session begins, a committee chairman will put out a lot of committee bills that are shell bills, a bill relating to XYZ. And during the course of the session, if there's something that comes up that they want to put a bill in, they can write it. So, no, there's no companion, but just like there was no companion for term limits either, they can find a way to put it in another bill on the other side if they choose to do so. Now, there is nothing on the Senate side, but it could come up tomorrow. Just like this came up last Friday at 6 o'clock. So don't count on it, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
They may be trying to make a statement. It may be shooting over the bow. They may want to make us the bad guys, because clearly the counties cannot let this stand. We have to fight it, because it's taking our money away for our projects and giving it to the state. But, they want to get rid of Tourist Visit Florida. The House does. So the Senate, maybe not as much, but I think that this is kind of, making us the bad guys, and we're fighting it. No, don't give the money to Visit Florida. There's a lot of reasons it could happen. We don't know yet. The good news, if there is good news, is that the counties, even though the rural counties could possibly be for this, because you take that money, they're only distributing 2%. You take that money, you put it up there, and then it could potentially go back to the rural counties. This could be a great way to divide and conquer. But the rural counties are sticking with the Florida Association of Counties as a whole, saying, no, this is a bad idea. And in fact, last night in an executive board meeting, I got two folks from small counties to be up there today at 2 o'clock. 2:15 is when it was going to be before the committee, to speak against it. So, we're sticking together. I don't know how serious it is, but, they've been so many bills. All we're doing is it's like, we feel like a gerbil on a wheel right now. It's just fighting every one of these bad ideas that are coming out of the legislature. Exciting news for the tax collector's office. We actually got a tax collector's building for services in the southwest part of the county, specifically Altamont Springs, but it'll serve as a number of areas and making it a lot more convenient. Congratulations to J.R. Krull and his folks. They did that just on March 21st. I think you all saw exciting for leisure services, as our libraries, everyone in Seminole County. We have 7 language learning pods that were opened up the other day, at 2 at Castleberry, 1 at every one of our other libraries, and 1 in Altamont Springs. State-of-the-art, only county in the state that has them. Thank you to Mr. Harry Jacobs, who donated the $90,000 for that in the name of his in-laws and family, he and his wife, in the name of their her mother and father, who, by the way, came over here from Poland at 11 years old, not speaking a word of English, and in 1933. And Mr. Goodman, not only was a philanthropist, but also started the Jewish Community Center, and developed over 1,500 homes in this area. lots of different programs that have come up over the course of time. I think all of you have been to one or another. Last weekend, I think there was 10 different events you could go to here in Seminole County. It was wonderful. But I will just mention one for this coming week, and that is the Springs concert is coming up on the 1st. That should be a wonderful thing, and I think that most of you will say something about the other things coming up, so I'll just mention that. That Springs concert will be this Saturday at the Springs. And with that, I'm done.
Thank you, Commissioner Constantine. Commissioner Herr?
Yes, I think mine will be briefer than that. I just wanted to give a call out to Sergeant Hawkins. He had a commendation recently, and he serves us exceptionally well. He was given the American Legion Law Enforcement Certificate of Commendation for Outstanding Public Service, and I'm sure that well trumps what I'm about to say, but he has been the most amazing support system for the District 5 office, and I hope that counts for something as well, but congratulations, well deserved. I did circulate earlier a letter asking for our support by links for their submission to the Federal Transit Administration for Low or No Emission Grant program for buses, and I'm asking for your approval to give the letter to links.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, and that concludes my report. I will be at the Springs concert, so be on your best behavior down there.
Wait a minute, both of you are going to be there?
No, we won't be talking any.
In light of the inquiry earlier, I don't know.
Not county business. District 2.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I want to give a big congratulations to Todd Moderson, who was honored recently as one of the local heroes for the Care Force Award for helping save a man in my district who was an elderly gentleman during the floods of Hurricane Ian, who had wandered into an area that, rightfully so, used to be, dry ground that was underwater and had actually eroded from the rising waters. So big shout out to him. I spent an afternoon with Congressman Corey Mills last week at the Sanford Orlando International Airport, touring, giving him a bird's eye view and reviewing some of the needs and how important it was for this airport to get some help out of DC. For some grant monies and so forth. That was well received. I don't know that he realized the size and scope of the airport, which many of us don't realize until we're there. And it's one of the, in fact, is the largest foreign trade zone in the state of Florida, and the only airport that actually has a railhead that has a connectability to all the major ports in Florida. So there's a lot of things that can benefit us here from economic development. And so Congressman Mills is up to speed on that. Quick reminder, Boy Scout Golden Eagle Dinner is April 13th. Reception starts at 6. 7 is dinner. I hope that many of you can attend. Also, Congressman Corey Mills, for those who are interested, has been holding many town hall meetings. Also has put on an art competition for those that may want to participate. I'll give you the web address for that. That is going to be mills.house.gov/services/art-competition. Or just go to his website and you can migrate your way through that. There's going to be a presentation on April 7th at the Lake Mary Community Center. Pardon me. I also attended the Central Florida Ranch Forum at the Yarborough Ranch this past week, who was the entity who sponsored that. IFAS, UF, and USDA were all there and present, talking about invasive species, some of the impact of the invasive plant life that impacts our cattle here in Florida, which is what many people don't know is now starting to occur along many of the wetland waterway areas that when cattle ingest it become very ill, and it can actually be impacted to the point of death if not caught in time. So good information there. Attended the Taste of Oviedo, great outing for the folks in Oviedo, as well as the 50th anniversary kickoff of Lake Mary. I'm glad to see the chair lady there as well. If I missed the rest of you, my apologies, but I didn't stay there longer than about an hour or so. But it was a great event, and congratulations to the city of Lake Mary. And Madam Chair, that concludes my district report. I was asked by Commissioner Delary if it's appropriate now.
Absolutely.
In his absence, he desires to reappoint Bobby Van Herbulis as the Building Contractors Board for 1-year rotating term on the Contractor Examination Board, rotating from District 5 to District 1.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
The remainder of his report, he asked me to report that at last Thursday's CFCRC meeting, he was able to pass out the letter to the Sunrail Board as requested by our board, and wants to thank us and staff for assistance in getting that done in a quick fashion.
Great.
That's it.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
I will tag team and say the best thing about the Lake Mary 50th birthday celebration at Oval Park was that they let us shoot T-shirt guns. If you've never shot a T-shirt out of a cannon, you have not lived. I would not be opposed to that sneaking its way into our budget. Okay. I feel like that there's a place
Right
for
from
that.
up here?
Yeah, why not? We could shoot T-shirts.
One for each
out.
district. Don't give
It was a blast. It was a lot of fun. I also have a board appointment that I'd like to make, and it actually, we're going to try and do two things at once. Sandra Turner to the Committee on Aging as the local senior representative. The reason it's a two-part is we'd like her to fill the vacancy that is existing now that ends in December of ¡23. And then let's go ahead and appoint her for a 3-year term expiring ¡26, so we don't have to bring it back again at the beginning of this next year. We can go.
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Does that make sense for minutes purposes? Okay, fabulous. I did attend the FAC Legislative Day trip in Tallahassee. That FAC staff does a phenomenal job, so shout out to Ginger and her whole team, and of course Commissioner Constantine is the president of FAC this year, and they had a wonderful lineup of different state elected officials, House members, Senate members, the Secretary of Agriculture and Consumer Services, Wilton Simpson, addressed the group and just did a phenomenal job. So many opportunities for us in the local sphere that while we're frustrated with some things that they do in Tallahassee, they do some things very well, and they do get some things right, and some of the things that they're doing could be very beneficial for us. So County Manager Mr. Gray and Deputy County Manager Tricia Johnson and I took a lot of notes and made some follow-up appointments to make sure that we're availing ourselves of all of the opportunities that they are presenting for us. One of the things that I did while I was there, I stayed an extra day to participate in the growth management class that was presented by the Institute for County Government. It was taught by Tom Hawkins, who's a professor at the University of Florida. He's also a lawyer and a planner, and he has written a book, curriculum, that's specifically land use for elected officials. I joked maybe it's like land use for dummies, but it wasn't. It was actually, it's a graduate level course that he teaches at UF that they have paired specifically for the use of elected officials, and I found it incredibly helpful, useful. He crammed basically 6 weeks of instruction into a 6-hour class on Friday, and I brought back a lot of notes, and I brought back the curriculum, and so I'd love to share it with the two of you, let you look through it. I know attorneys don't always agree with attorneys, but
He's great, isn't he?
Really?
he was fantastic. I really enjoyed him. He came at it from a perspective of whether you are someone who tends to be right of center or left of center, it didn't matter. The content of the class was applicable for everyone. So highly recommend sharing that as appropriate. Also attended the Duke Sustainability Lab Open House at the Seminole State Oviedo campus. Our partnership with Duke Energy really is fantastic. They have a solar array, aquaponics, a pollinator garden, everything you could possibly imagine related to sustainability out at the Oviedo, the Lee campus out there in Oviedo. And the students and the faculty and the staff and the adult volunteers who have made this thing happen, it's just really, they were telling the timeline of how long it's taken and how many people have been involved in making this lab a reality. And I must have commented one too many times on the T-shirts that everybody was wearing. Everyone had these really cool pollinator power T-shirts, like power, like Duke, because Duke sponsored the T-shirts. I was like, oh my gosh, those are really cool T-shirts. So before I left, I think I guilted them into giving me a T-shirt. So if anybody else would like pollinator power T-shirts, I have a connection for you. They were very cute. They were designed by one of our students. One more reminder about the April 4th symposium at our extension office, hosted by the Outside Collaborative and our team. Another great opportunity for local elected officials, any stakeholder that's involved in or interested in sustainable landscaping and land development codes, whether you are someone who is a homeowner that's just interested in how you could have your HOA implement better practices, or if you are someone who advocates here regularly as a citizen for what we should and shouldn't have in our code, or if you're a local elected official in a city that might be interested in doing something collaboratively on a countywide basis, I think this is going to be a wonderful opportunity to get all of the stakeholders around essentially a room together. And that's April 4th from 9 to noon at the county's extension office. So there is an opportunity to RSVP because space is limited. I think we're limiting it to 80 attendees. So get on our website and sign up for that for sure.
Commissioner, if I can just give another shout out for that. Because
Sure.
Mr. Sullen, Tim Sullen, who is,
Sallin.
Sallin, I always say Sullen.
He's not sullen, though. He's a very happy man.
No, I know. But he's on the board of directors of the Thousand Friends of Florida with me, and he's just a great guy. And I think everybody will enjoy his presentations.
And thank you for mentioning that, because we also have Dr. Pierce Jones from the University of Florida and Dr. Richard Levy from the University of Central Florida. And I'm going to miss somebody, and that's dangerous when you start naming people. But I will say the quality of and the expertise and experience of the individuals who are coming to be a part of this panel discussion, and there will be an opportunity for discussion. We're hoping that this can be something that is collaborative in nature. They are top-notch in their field. People around the country, these are sought-after individuals. So the fact that we have them coming here to something that we're hosting in Seminole County really is quite remarkable. And so that's why I keep talking about it, because I want there to be a full room for these folks. So anyway, love to have you all join us. Commissioner Hurt.
For the record, it was noticed.
It was, yes, it was noticed. All elected officials can participate. It was noticed.
You know,
sure.
we may have to just notice everything.
That may be. All right, is there any future agenda items? We don't have any on this agenda. Nope. We have some folks here that would like to speak from the public. I hope, have we filled out comment cards? Yep. So if you're here to speak as a member of the public about an item that was not on our agenda, you want to fill out the yellow form that's in the lobby. And if you just want to submit something for comment, you can fill out the green form. So, Ms. Beach, who do we have to address the board?
Wynn Adams.
All right, Mr. Adams. You have 3 minutes. State your name and address for the record.
I'm Wynn Adams. I'm here as the treasurer of Coach Light Estates, Section 2. We're actually at townhomes.
So are you asking for 6 minutes, Mr.
Yes.
Adams? You have 6 minutes.
All right. I need to be able to show. Are we live?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the issue. Is that upside down? No, it's not. Oh, good. The issue is with the city of Castleberry and their new police department building plan, because it's not completed yet.
Okay.
Bottom line is, it has to deal with privacy and with noise. Now, if you're familiar where the tag office is in Castleberry, off of Wilshire Boulevard, are you familiar with that? Yeah, it's off of 436. It's approximately a mile, mile and a quarter from 1792 if you're going east. Okay? This here used to be the Castleberry bowling alley. Our condo association is this area here. Now, in the beginning, we were told that the city of Castleberry would make sure that we have privacy protection, noise protection, things like that. So you're all familiar with this
Yes.
area?
Yes, we are. Thank
Okay,
you.
good. This here is a view looking towards 436 if you're on Wilshire Boulevard. To the right, my right, is where the tag office is, and what we're talking about is the space across the road. Also, farther down, not quite to the 436, is where I understand we're putting a new fire station in the county. Oh, these maps came from Google Maps, so this is recent. Here's a shot of basically the vacant land. This is going back a few months, though, before they actually started construction. This here is, if you're looking here, this is you're looking west, standing on Wilshire Boulevard. This is the brand-new police facility. And what is interesting about it, in the beginning, we did not believe there would be a road here. We thought the building would be set back more. But this road here leads to where basically their parking lot is going to be, which is in this area here. Now, the issue, of course, is traffic, and if it's the police department, they're probably getting there at 7 in the morning. Along here is where our units, our townhouse units are, and basically our condo association is more like a 55 and older community. Consequently, many of these ladies that live along here, they sleep in the morning, and they're concerned about the noise going right next to their back bedrooms and so forth. Now, this here is what we did not expect. We were told limited windows. Well, we don't consider this limited windows. And this is a shot from our property to the building. What we're here is, since we have no authority in Castleberry because we're in Fern Park, the line is there going into the city. Can you help us out?
Are you done? Is that your presentation?
Yes.
We'll have, okay. Just so everyone's aware, our office has been in contact with Mr. Adams on this topic for quite some time, and he's been in touch with our folks in Public Works, and so he has come here today, as you might assume, because he has not received the resolution that he was hoping for coming to my office and working with Public Works. So I respect very much his advocating on behalf of his neighbors. So Commissioner Zenbauer.
I wasn't here for the first part, but thank you very much. I think that's in my district, is it not?
No.
Probably in
No.
Still yours?
District 4.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, good luck with that.
Wait a minute. Just remember, we don't run as single.
I'll be here to back her up, whatever she does.
Okay.
So just to give a little more context, the request is from the Neighborhood Association for the city to build a wall as a part.
Exactly.
Am I correct?
A wall that will sound deaden, that we're not going to be having problems with the noise of the traffic going back and forth to their parking lot. That's where they put it.
Yep.
And then, of course, the privacy is a question also because of all those windows.
So my suggestion to Mr. Adams was that he work with the city of Castleberry and ask them, since it is their police station and their property that they are developing, to have a conversation with them. And were you able to do that?
Well, when I did a couple years ago, when this was first going on, we're not in the city limits.
I understand. Did they give you an answer about the wall when you asked them? Did you ask
Well,
them?
what I was told, and this is recent, they're planning on putting up a 6-foot wire fence. And by the way, they'll probably put trees maybe 20 feet apart. That's what I got from the people on site that are doing the work.
So since we have a new county manager who's doing a great job of building relationships with city managers around the county.
You still support her?
This is a.
Even better.
I know. It's an intergovernmental opportunity to build relationships. And so, Mr. Adams, I know he wishes I had a magic wand that I could
You
just
don't.
wave. I don't have one. I
I
can't
know.
make the city of Castleberry do anything. So perhaps through a conversation with the city and Mr. Newland, you can determine where we are with that.
Yes. And if I could suggest, just coming from the city side, I would definitely reach out to them, to the city of Castleberry, the city manager's office as well, to talk about the issue. Just as a prior city manager, even if it was our project, we always wanted to be good neighbors. And then also you could attend one of their city council meetings as well. I'm sure they have an open forum, and put your concerns on the record. I think that will help, but I'll definitely reach out to them.
Plus, the other advantage is now you all have suggested that I can use that county commission is asking me to reach out.
I think you're giving us far too much
Yeah.
credit. I'm not sure. In fact, saying that we suggested it might be the death knell for you. So, but we appreciate you being here very much, and you're in very capable hands with Mr. Gray.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I
Uh-huh.
really appreciate it.
Of course. Ms. Beach, who do we have next?
John Murphy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
This is beginning to sound like pick on a Castleberry Day, but it's not. Sure. My name is John Murphy, and I am speaking this afternoon on behalf of the English Estates English Woods Homeowners Association as their president, as a follow-up to several items that were discussed at our recently quarterly HOA meeting. FYI, the HOA is comprised of 540 homes in southwest Seminole County, east of State Road 1792, south of 436, and south of the English Estates Elementary School to the Orange County line. At our March 18th general meeting of the HOA, we put together an agenda and invited guest speakers from Seminole County, Castleberry Utility Office to provide updates on their proposed improvements within our HOA boundaries. The city of Castleberry's existing water system was installed in the late 1950s and is nearing the end of its service life. The city of Castleberry has estimated approximately 44,000 feet of asbestos cement within the limits of our EEW and adjacent Bel Air communities. These pipes are located within the county right-of-way and not under the existing pavement. We also estimate, just for general information, that the city utilities office has 48 miles of AC pipe in Seminole County outside of the city limits. There are approximately 8 miles of pipe in our subdivision. Because of the size of our project, it's being divided into 5 phases. We have learned from Castleberry Utilities the most cost-effective means of replacing the water main is pipe bursting, pulling a replacement pipe behind a mandrel, splitting the existing pipe, and minimal excavation. The city had a contractor use this type of installation in Domrick Estates, which is an adjacent subdivision, but in the other county. And it was very successful. We understand that the County Public Works is referring to the Seminole County Public Works Engineering Manual, July 24th, 2013, Transportation Standards, Section 8.1, and will only approve open cut method of excavation. Open trench adjacent to and exposing the existing water main for the city's project. This will not only expose AC pipe, but requires a costly remediation to remove the existing pipe and serious restorations. Additionally, the cost for removal of AC pipe varies from $75 to $175 per linear foot, driving the cost of this project and to the ratepayers almost out of sight. Open excavation trenches affect the existing landscape, impact existing trees, driveways during the project. This is a very mature subdivision incorporated in 1961, and the loss of existing landscape and tree canopy required by open cut cannot be measured. English Estates and English Woods HOA is supporting the City of Castleberry's request for the County Commission to grant an exception to the city to permit pipe bursting for these projects. There was also information presented by Seminole County Public Works about the project on Oxford Road at the same meeting, and it's being addressed by county staff. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Go ahead, you have 2 minutes and 42 seconds. You take whatever time you want.
Well, I'm just saying, we, the HOA, have no financial ins and outs in this. We recognize that the county has a project, Oxford Road storm, sidewalk and stormwater, bisecting our subdivision, and within that is the City of Castleberry's water project. So we're trying to get the City of Castleberry and the county to talk about doing a third-party agreement so that can be done at once, not ripping up all what was just built. Build it today and we'll rip it up tomorrow.
Thank you very much for being here, and I will, this is, this is District 4 Day. Actually,
It's like I added to my Castleberry.
yes, Mr. Gray and I actually spoke with Mayor Hinson last week about this, and so we kind of already had a little bit of a heads up about what the concern was, so I appreciate so much that we have citizens that are also advocating. Commissioner Zembauer, you had a comment or a question?
I did, and this has been a question I had. I want to make sure Mr. Dredge probably can answer this. I think it was 3 years ago, I learned of this technology, and I actually reached out to Mr. Newland at Castleberry for the availability to actually go watch one of these projects and how they actually did it, and then inquired to why we don't do that here in the county as much. And what I learned, and John, if I'm not stating this properly, that many of the projects that we undertake with repiping are with grant money, federal grant money, which requires the mitigation of the asbestos pipes to be removed as part and parcel of receiving the grant money. Is that still my understanding?
No, it is, I'm not aware of the grant, what grant you're referring to. What we have in the county, we have between 8 to 10 utilities within the county. And also we have in our manual, very clearly state that asbestos pipe, if you replace it, you have to move the existing. And also bursting for asbestos pipe is prohibited. So what we do, we try to follow our code to all the utilities. Now, with Castleberry, with the city of Castleberry, it has been, I know they called you before about 2-3 years, and we talk about it. I talked to the previous public work director and other staff. And as early as a few weeks ago, my staff met with their staff, and we do a sidewalk project in there. And I think came to agreement, they will have interlocal agreement on that area, so they can put it as a part of our project, as they'll pay for it, for them to replace that pipe and remove the asbestos. Also, they have, like Mr. Murphy said, 2-3 phases in that subdivision. And they have concern about the large tree. And we said, okay, if there is a large tree and a pipe under it, we are willing to look into it, and we gave them a list what they need to submit. Submit as per your plan, which is anytime you do, the location of the pipe, the location of the tree, the type of tree, and the diameter, and we will look at it. That's what we stand on Casaberry. Some other utility like Sunshine, approached us before. Also, they do have those. And we said you have to move it. Last was the current. It is a requirement. Also, we have visits those requirements. Those requirements go way before I came on board. So nothing it is done. We have discussed those requirements previously with the previous county manager's office, and also our attorney was the concern. And there was a decision was to remain those requirements as it is today. If the board wanted to change it, allow us, we need to change those requirements, because today is not one utility and two. We have several of them, and also they have several throughout the county of asbestos. That's where we stand.
Thank you.
As of your grant, I don't know if it's certain typical grant, probably, but I'm not specifically about which grant you're talking about. If you know the grant specifically, we'll be glad to look into it.
Yeah, and my recollection is you were in my office when we had discussion about pipe bursting and why we did not do that in certain instances.
It could be, but I really don't.
Got it.
But if you have a certain, we'll be glad to look into that.
Great, fair enough.
So it sounds to me, Mr. Dredge, like the requirements that we have in place are our requirements, and if those have not been looked at, if they were put in place in 2013, it sounds like, based on what I read.
They will look a long time.
A long time. So maybe with a new county manager in place, we can look at that again. If it was the county manager's decision last time, I don't recall this coming before the board. So I think that was maybe something that was decided administratively, and maybe we can ask the county manager to look at this, if that's something, if that's the will of the board.
I'm okay with that. I would like to know the environmental impact of leaving the asbestos in the ground.
All of that. Commissioner Herr?
Listen, every now and then you pull up Google and you might learn something. The EPA might disagree with the theory here, so there's probably some research that needs to be looked at.
Yes.
that
And I can do that. I can,
Okay.
with Mr. Dredge as well.
So Commissioner Constantine, would you concur so we can have the record reflect that there was unanimous consent for the county manager to review this?
I think the county manager should review it.
All right. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. So, Mr. Dredge, I think to be continued, and for the folks in English Estates, stay tuned. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any other comment cards? No? All right. Anyone else here who would like to address the board? Anything else from staff? All right. Seeing nothing else to come before, the board will adjourn at 3:03.
Thanks. Unless you want.